We need to have a serious conversation about people who play games, man. People who play games and take it just way too seriously. Present company included, right? So there's some games in the past I took pretty seriously. Nothing too bad, but like I kind of almost teetered to the point of being a total shit bucket on games like GTA, Call of Duty back in the day. Like we're talking 10 years ago, not anything recent. Um, and yeah, this video is centered around these guys actually that me and my friend were facing in the Last of Us multiplayer. To give a little background here, because I never talked about this game before. I haven't even talked about this on my first channel from over a decade ago when this game first came out. When this game came out, I tried the multiplayer. I got the game for free whenever I bought my PlayStation 4 in 2014. And the multiplayer it was from day one the worst multiplayer that I have ever played, hands down, like no competition. It was just horrible. The reason being are players that we're facing right now. The game is okay when you're facing people that are evenly skilled with you, as me and my friend actually played a couple of matches prior to this. But then when you face these shit buckets who do not shower, who do not leave the house, who do not have a social life, who see absolutely zero like interactions with the opposite sex, you kind of get the sense that maybe a game like this should just be left to die. And the community along with it just left holding their dicks, wondering, where did everybody go? You know, I've seen people in the past complain about games that were underrated, that died, that no one gave a chance. And then I do a little bit of investigating and find out, oh, those games actually had a very similar situation to The Last of Us, where you had a like predator class of shit buckets who just would stomp and be as toxic as humanly possible to people who are just trying to casually play the game. I have been teabagged so much, my body shot into, by people who play like this for simply playing casually, as if they were pissed off that I wasn't trying my ass off for some shit. And to give a little backstory, what I was talking about earlier about the whole present company included thing, back in the day when Black Ops 3 was in its like second prime phase after Infinite Warfare came out, and they started updating BO3 again with like new guns and shit, I got at one point really good at the game. I would use kind of shitty weapons and I would still beat out like many tryhards without a problem because I was just sweating that hard, right? This also translated to how I played against casuals. I just didn't think about their experience. I didn't think about anybody else. I just thought about having as much fun as possible, just basically tricking out my brain with an infinitely increasing quantity of dopamine. The result of my actions was quite apparent pretty quickly. I would be the only guy who was actually trying my ass off online on like let's just say like a fucking Wednesday night or something. Because there was always tryhards in BO3, but there was actually a brief phase. I think it was when World War II was out actually, COD World War II, where all the tryhards moved to that game. So I was like the only guy on BO3 who actually was trying. There were nights where I stomped the same players over and over and over again until I could not find a match of TDM. I'm not kidding you, like that's literally what happened. This didn't happen super, super commonly, but this happened enough for me to actually have a point of reflection like, man, maybe the way that I'm playing is killing the game that I love. And this kind of stuck with me for many years, and I started to think like, you know, I started to apply this to other games like The Last of Us, which I had somewhat of an opposite but similar experience with, where I never could actually get good at The Last of Us because of the players that were just ruthlessly stomping me to the point where I just put the game down for years and just never considered even touching the single player ever again. Which, by the way, I did beat the single player, so I'm not just saying that as like it just put me off from the game entirely. I beat the single player, contemplated playing it a second time, and I just didn't because the multiplayer put me off. But this game did that for me, and I realized that I did that for other people, and that's why nowadays I don't try. The last game that I really tried in was GTA Online. And it was really only because some people would grief someone's cargo or my cargo or something, or they would fuck with me or someone else in the session. And I'd be like some little fucking retard vigilante, and I would just loop kill someone over and over again, right? That's resulted in me getting booted offline countless times, which is always really annoying and frustrating because at the time I couldn't change my IP, and I didn't have a VPN. But yeah, so other people are going to need to come to a similar conclusion with other games because there are so many great games, I'm sure, which nobody gives a chance because the minute they play it, they just get destroyed. And I'm not really advocating for skill-based matchmaking, right? Because I know that's good for some games. Like The Last of Us could probably use skill-based matchmaking, but I'm not advocating it for it in general because of the fact that back in the day we didn't really need it. There were not that many sweats. If you remember Halo 2 or Halo 3 back in the day, or the old COD games, you might run into like 3 good players every other day or something like that that you like really aspire to play like. It was also like there was a different dynamic behind it back in the day too. It was almost like one of admiration for this kind of players, but also if you were sweating your ass off in a game like COD and just using like cheese tactics or some shit, you get laughed at. You would get you'd basically get cyberbullied off out of the lobby. Nowadays, it's all inverted. Everyone wants to be a sweat, and not for the reasons that I just listed. You know, things aren't the same way they used to be back in the day. So sweats nowadays, people just have to realize that look, while you may get dopamine rushes from playing like a crackhead, one, it's not healthy for you. I mean, if you really think about it, if you do like a simple dopamine detox, you could actually have fun playing the game just normally. I have experience with that. That's why I'm able to enjoy games like Battlefield 2042, despite the fact that really I'm not all that great at it. I'm pretty average. But also, it's not healthy for other players as well, as I was saying. The dopamine thing, though, is actually pretty interesting because dopamine, like, the more you play something, and if you notice in the gaming community, and again, I'm guilty of this, if you notice in the gaming community, the most, like, uncontent players, if that's a word here, are the ones that are the most dedicated, that play the game the most, that are the best at the game. The ones who complain the most. You know, I mean, like, they're not content with anything. You can come out, as a publisher, you can come out with a game that's like, you know, great, but not as good as the one that they grew up with. The sweats, I mean. And you'll get nothing but complaints. Oh, they changed this, they changed that. Yes, I'm guilty of it with Call of Duty because I always wanted a classic COD experience, and I could never find that with a new one. So I used to complain a lot about that alone before the SPMM thing. But if you notice that dynamic, it all has to do with dopamine. These people, they play the same game over and over again. They don't put it down. They latch onto it and they just don't take a break. That's it's like that across the board with so many different games. So for the sake of yourself and for the sake of other people, just take a dopamine detox. Just take a little break. Because there are games like The Last of Us multiplayer which could be thriving in theory, or could have been several years ago if this was like 2016. There's games like this that could be thriving if there wasn't a predator class of just dopamine junkie, just degenerates ruining it. That's about it for this video. It's kind of a new format for me. It's something that I'm probably going to gravitate more towards because of the fact that it's old-fashioned, I guess. In the channel I had a decade ago, this is how I made videos, just raw off my PlayStation with Share Factory. There's a weird glitch though with like the mic quality and that weird like popping sound effect on some of the highs. It only happens in Share Factory for some reason. If I record like gameplay with my mic on, this doesn't occur. In fact, with the gameplay with the microphone audio, it actually the quality sounds a little better. It's a weird glitch. This didn't happen on the PS4 version of Share Factory, by the way. But yeah, so this is a bit of an old format. Thought I'd do this because honestly, if I'm just being real, I've lost a lot of the spark when it comes to the kind of videos I made before, the just utter process of making each and every single one of those videos was always like a pain in the ass. There's no mitigating it either. I don't have a dedicated microphone from my computer to like record shit with. I have to record it on my phone, upload it to Google Drive, then download it from Google Drive onto my computer, then edit the audio, trim the audio, then put it on a flash drive, then put it on my PlayStation to then add on top of gameplay. Dude, it was just too much. This is way easier. I could probably put out a lot of just basic old-fashioned commentaries on tons of different topics. The only downside being the limitations of cuts I can make to the audio. I think on PS5 it's only 20. On PS4 it's 10 for some reason. And the mic audio. So yeah, if you enjoy this, definitely let me know. That's about it. Yeah.